Okay, this short video will teach you some of the really basics about APA. Mostly, I'm going to just cover formatting, so that includes things like margins, basically setting up the look of your document, okay? Creating the cover page, creating the header, setting spacing, getting your paragraphing right. I'm going to walk you through those steps in real time, and then I'm going to show how to create references. I've already noticed in the quizzes a lot of people are struggling with that, so I'm going to show just how easy it is by creating some references in real time. I'm not going to get into in-text citations, not because they're not important. I'd say that in-text citations maybe are the most confusing aspect for some people. It's not really terribly difficult. It's just that it's kind of difficult to do in real time. It's sort of difficult to just make up sentences, but I'll point you in a couple different directions where you can read more about this. Okay, but let's get into formatting. So I have an open Microsoft Word document in front of me. I'm using Microsoft Word for Mac. So if you're using a PC, maybe some of these functions are in different places, but they shouldn't be that radically different. If you're using some other word processing tool like Google Docs, Open Office, that's fine, or Pages, which is the Apple word processing software. That's fine, but you'll have to figure out where these functions are. It's probably easiest to use Microsoft Word if you have it. Okay, so I have a blank document open. The first thing we're going to do is really, really basic stuff. We're going to choose an appropriate font, which is Times New Roman. Okay, we want it to be 12 points, so that looks good. Next, what we have to do is set the margins. So I'm going to click on this Layout tab. Okay. In APA style, all margins, top, bottom, left, right, need to be set to 1 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And as I enter these changes, they happen automatically. Okay, you may not see the ruler moving, but it does. So left 1 inch and right 1 inch. Okay, we're set. The next thing we have to do is work on the header. The header is this top part of the page here, the top inch or so. If you're using Microsoft Word, it's real simple. You just have to double click in this area. You can also find it by, I believe, going up to view header footer. But it's much easier, I think, just to double click and then you're in. And you have to type two things. Okay, first the words running head colon, and then in all caps the title of your paper, or a shortened title of your paper if it's like a really, really long title. So I'm just going to make up a generic title called, oops, put that in all caps, my English paper. Please do not title your work my English paper. That's just my generic title that I'm going to use. The other thing we need to do is, you see there's this header and footer tab. It wasn't here before, because if we're not in the header, it doesn't appear. But if we're in the header, it appears. If we click on that new tab, this part is a little bit confusing. So if you can't get this to work and just have the words running head and the title of your paper appear on every page, that's fine. Technically, we need to click this little guy here, different first page. The only problem is every time I click on it, it likes to make disappear what I have here. So let's see what happens. Different first to see. There we go. It disappeared. So I'm going to type that stuff in again. And before we're done with the header, we also have to insert page numbers. I like to do that actually by not clicking here, page number, but by going to the menu, just because it automatically typically sets it up where I want it to. So insert page numbers. So yeah, we want it in the top right corner. We do want it to appear on the first page in all remaining pages. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And this is what happens. See, now I have to click different first page again, and boom, for some reason, the number appears, even though it wasn't appearing before. So you have to play with this, clicking different first page and making things work. But okay, we've got our header. Next thing we need to do is we need to go to approximately 1/3 down the page. Okay, so you can just use your eyes, right? You can eyeball it. And you need to do a couple things here. First, you need to retype the full title of your paper. I actually have an example open because, believe it or not, even I need to double check things, so that's perfectly okay. You have this document as one of your assets. Okay. Oops, we'll get back to that in a second. So here it's not in all caps. So my English paper. If it has a subtitle, like a second part to the title, include that on the second line. Subtitle. I'll just say subtitle. Okay. While we're here, let's go ahead and highlight everything. Let's double space because we're going to need the entire document to be double spaced anyway. So this up and down arrow is a spacing tool. So let's change it from 1.0 to 2.0. And let's also center it. Okay. Now we need to go approximately another third of the way down, and we'll fix that. We'll double check to make sure it's about a third of the way down in just a second. And here we have to put several things, which I need to remind myself of. Okay, name, your name, that is. Name of the class, instructor, date. Okay, let me see if I can remember all that on the fly. So we'll put your name. Okay, imagine that your name is Jane Doe. The name of the class, English Composition 1. Your instructor's name. And I believe it's the assignment due date. Yeah, assignment due date. So this assignment is due when? Sunday? So what's today? July 17th? That would be the 19th. Okay. So format, month, date, year. Okay. So oh 07, 19, 2015. Okay. Now I'm going to make this smaller just to see how close I am to making sure that things are about a third of the way down the page. Looks like this could be bumped down a little bit. Looks like this could be bumped up a little bit. Okay, again, just trust your eyes. So to me, that looks about right, right? That looks like about a third of the way down. That looks another third of the way down. That looks another third. Does that look okay? We're going to say yes. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? You just guesstimate. Now, put your cursor right after the date. Make sure that you got everything set. Times New Roman, 12-point font. Things are double spaced. Things are centered. Put your cursor at the end of the date and hit enter until you get to the very first line of a new page. As soon as you get to that new line, stop. There, I'm on a new page. Okay? We again, I know it seems repetitive, right? We again type our title. Notice that it's not in all caps, it's not bolded, it's not underlined, it's not in a fancy font. Okay, we're not that. By the way, this is the beauty and elegance of APA, is just its consistency. We're using one single font size and style for the entire document. Okay, so we retype our title. If it has a secondary part to it, include that. Okay, but your title gets centered on the very first line of a new page. We hit enter once, not two times, not 10 times, okay? Just once. If we already have double spacing set up, which we did on the cover page, we're set, okay? We just hit enter once. We need to begin our paper, so we need to begin over here. So we'll just we'll click off the centering function. We will indent by hitting tab, and we can start typing our paper. My paper goes here. My paper goes here. Now, as I talk, I want to point out a couple different things. This should be common sense, but I need to say it anyway. You'll notice as I continue and complete each sentence, when I type a period, I hit my space bar twice, right? So period, space, space. Okay. Oops, that's Spanish. My paper goes here. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this because I want to show something. Okay. So we're typing away, we're typing away, we're typing away. And by the way, when we have double spacing set up to begin with, you can just keep typing away and it automatically wraps on the next line. I've seen some students who don't double space, they have it set up for single spacing, and then what they do is they go in and they actually force it to look double spaced, and that creates lots of problems because the document is still technically single spaced and makes little green squiggly lines here on the left because it wants to capitalize all these things because you're forcing literally new sentences to begin. So it's much easier just to have everything double spaced in advance. Okay, let's say you reach the end of a paragraph. Okay, you hit enter once, not twice, not 10 times, and you keep typing away. Okay. Because what some students like to do is, and I've heard some students explain this, and I know this looks a little bit odd visually to see this repeated. My. I'm just filling it with gibberish so you can see how paragraphing and spacing work. But I've heard from some students that they think everything looks smashed together, so they'll start doing things like this. Okay, but that's not APA style. I'm gonna undo that. Trust me, open up a novel sometime. Open up a Harry Potter book. Open up, I don't know, I can't think of any other books right now. The Lord of the Rings. Right, open up any book. You don't see extra spaces between paragraphs. This is pretty standard in just about whatever area of publishing you're working in. So, no extra spaces between elements. Okay, but let's imagine. I'm going to. Oops. That needs to be. Let's imagine you're nearing the end of your paper. So I'm going to force this to go on to the second page. Bear with me. Okay. I'm going to fill it up just a little bit more so it looks fuller. Okay, so let's imagine we're like on page 3 or 4 right now, okay? And your paper comes to a close. Let's say this is the end of our paper. Okay, we're going to hit enter until we get to a brand new line. As soon as we get to that first line of a new page, we are going to stop. Boom. New page. Stop. We are going to type the word references. We are going to center it. Oops. Okay. And again, we're not putting references colon. We're not putting references in all caps. We're not bolding it. We're not italicizing it. We're not calling it works cited. We're not calling it bibliography. We're not calling it my sources. The simple, elegant word references. Okay? After references, we hit enter once, just once, not 10 times, and we can start building our references page. Okay, so what I have are several article examples open. I'm going to pretend in part that I am in this class and I'm going to write about Taylor Swift because it happens to be true. I love Taylor Swift. So I have several Taylor Swift things open. First, let's go to the library database because I want to show a couple things here. Excuse me. Okay, so let's say I found this PDF, right, this article on Taylor Swift that I love, and I know I want to use this in my paper. You might remember from the week 2 go-to session, right, the most recent go-to session, Miss Fox, who was delivering that session, gave a pretty strong admonition not to use citation generators because some, I think, asked it during the session. And she's absolutely right, by the way. Citation generators can be very dangerous. I'm okay if you use them to begin with as a way to sort of get your foundation, but you need to fix the many small problems that the citation generator makes. And if you're not familiar with APA style, you won't know what to fix. So I'm in the library database right now. I have this article on Taylor Swift open. On the right here, this little yellow piece of paper, that's the cite tool. If I click on it, you'll see I get all these different reference styles. AMA, MLA is further down. But here's APA. Okay? Now I can go ahead and take this. And by the way, this one we're lucky. It's mostly right. The word cover story doesn't need to appear. That's not part of the title. By the way, the problem with citation generators is they're just pieces of software, right? They just take information, plug it in, and spit it out. So it doesn't know how to look for things that are incorrect. Because I know APA rules, I already know this one's pretty close to correct. But there are some small problems. For example, the rule for article titles. Here's the article title. In APA, you actually follow standard rules of capitalization. By that I mean you follow the same rules that would apply to a regular sentence. So in this case, T in Taylor would be capitalized because A, it's a proper name, right? A person's name. Second, it's the very first word of the title, so you would capitalize it anyway, no matter what the word was. But all these other words, strikes, A, chord, needs to be in lowercase. So I need to fix that. But if I don't know my APA rules, I don't know to do that. But I can go ahead and copy and paste it and bring it over, which is what I'm going to do. So I've already copied it. I'm going to go back to my Microsoft Word document. I'm going to make sure that we're not centered anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. Now, if you're using Microsoft Word, okay, there's this really neat function where this little clipboard shows up, and if you click Match Destination Formatting, it will automatically change the font so you're in Times New Roman. I already know I got to get rid of cover story. There's no need for that. I need to fix these capitalization issues that I just mentioned. Okay, that looks good. And I need to do one more thing. This is not enough. Like, this doesn't help me find your article in the database. We also need to write the words retrieved from and then add the permalink, okay? Not the URL, which you would get up here in your browser, but the permalink, which is this chain link looking symbol right here. The permalink ensures that we always have a stable way to get back to this article. URLs can change. URLs can result in errors, but that permalink is permanent. Okay, so I'm going to bring that over and paste it in. Now, for each reference that you create, notice that it's double spaced, not single spaced, and it follows the opposite rules of indentation. So, regular paragraphs, the first line of a new paragraph is indented, all other lines are not. On the references page, the first line of an entry is not indented, but the additional lines are. So, I'm going to go ahead and indent those. So, I'm going to highlight the second and third lines, and I'm going to try to click on this little bottom part of the arrow. Okay, good. Sometimes I can't quite grab it. And I'm going to move it over half an inch. Okay. Boom. Easy. Okay, and I can hit enter and keep adding in more references. Next, I want to show you, so let's close this article. Here's another article on Taylor Swift. What I want to show with this one is, again, how you have to be careful because when you bring things over, you need to fix them. So if I click on the Cite tool, I can already tell, lots of problems here. Again, we don't need cover story. That's not really part of the title. That's just the citation generator taking in the information that's included in the database search and throwing it in. But look, lots of capitalization issues here. So we need to fix all this. Only the Q in Queen gets capitalized. None of this, none of the rest of this does. Sometimes it loves to put authors' names in all caps. It's not doing that here, but you need to fix that kind of stuff. But again, I'm going to take it anyway and fix stuff when I bring it over. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'm going to paste it in. I'm going to make sure that it matches the same font and size and style. I'm going to fix all this garbage. Oops, Queen of Her Own Heart. I should just type it real quick. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this cover story thing. That's not really part of the title. Okay. And again, the only thing I need to do is put the words retrieved from. Go ahead and grab that permalink and bring that over. And notice, as soon as you set the indentation correctly for the first one, it will match on all the other ones that you put in. Okay, two other quick examples because they're going to show interesting things. I couldn't find one on Taylor Swift that matched what I wanted to show, but I did find one on Kanye West. If you ever see in the citation generator a DOI number, okay, DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. This is all I need. Okay, I don't need the permalink. So anytime you have a DOI, you don't have to go to that chain link looking symbol and grab the permalink. You can just grab everything that you need. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this and pretend that it's useful for my paper. This person's last name starts with G, so technically it should be here. Okay, I'm going to make sure that it matches the formatting. Even though Beautiful Dark Twisted is a play on Kanye West's album title, here it's not really functioning that way. So I need to fix that. Kanye and West will stay capitalized because that's his name, but all this stuff needs to be fixed. Okay, and that one's done. Okay, because it has a DOI number. One more thing I want to show is, let's say we're not finding something in the database, right? Let's say you found a useful article online. How would you do that? The exact same thing. Okay, here's an article from the New Yorker online about Taylor Swift. You Belong With Me, How Taylor Swift Made Teen Angst into a Business Empire by Lizzie Whitcomb. We have everything we need. We have a date, etc. So I can start building this just because I already know the rules of APA. So it'll be the final entry. So what was her name? Whitcomb. I'll check spelling when I go back. L right? Lizzie Whitcomb. Okay, good. We have a date, October 10th, 2011. Now, you might be wondering, why am I putting in the full date here but not for these? Typically, things that you find through the library database, especially through EBSCOhost, they're typically published in journals. Um, so a year is sufficient. It's typically things that we find online have dates. The New Yorker is published every single week, whereas sometimes other things are only published once a month or only a couple times a year. So newspapers, magazines that are published pretty regularly. I mean, a good rule of thumb is basically any article that you're finding online, you probably want to put the fuller date, just so you're being more specific. I mean, I'm not really going to yell at you or take points off if you only put the year, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the right rules. Okay, so we have a date. Next, we grab that article title. I'm just going to copy and paste it, right? Because I have that match destination formatting function, so I can fix all that in two shakes. Notice I'm fixing all the snafus here. So you belong with me. How Taylor Swift made teenage. Okay, all that looks great. Publication name. This is the New Yorker, and we again need to put the words retrieve from. And here we're just gonna go ahead and grab that URL. This time we can actually use the URL. Okay, because that's how we find websites, and plug that in, and boom. Okay, there's a references list. By the way, I hate seeing these green squiggles, so while I talk, I'm gonna fix all that. But that's it. As I've said, I think a couple times in class, APA really is easy. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's easy when you open up all the materials. It seems like you're just being overwhelmed with things, but I hope that by showing you how to do this in real time, this should look much, much simpler. By the way, if this wasn't found in the New Yorker, let's say it was found on a website. What's the name of a popular website? I can't think. Like, I don't know, TMZ or something, like, right? You could just put things like tmz.com or something. Okay, so website name can replace publication name. Oh, I hate those green squiggles. Let me get rid of that. Okay, so there's an APA formatted paper. For some reason, we're missing. I don't know why the page number isn't appearing there. Let's try insert page numbers. This and now it's moved to the bottom. We want that at the top. Again, this all happens when you click on that different first page tab. Remember way back at the beginning. For some reason, it loves to mess around with page numbers. There, that's good. That's good. and see, technically, running head is not supposed to appear on pages 2, 3, and 4. That's why we clicked on different first page. But again, if you can't figure it out, don't worry. It's sort of a nightmare. I don't know why it loves to make things disappear. Oh, I think I remember what to do. I think I have to go into the header on page 2, literally, and change it. So we'll get rid of running head and just have my English paper. Yeah, good. Okay, so we have running ahead appearing on the first page. Running head disappears on subsequent pages. Like I said, if you can't figure that out, that's fine. Real quickly, you have lots of tools available to you. So here's the activity for this Sunday's assignment, the draft of the essay assignment. You'll notice that you have this APA Basics PDF. Okay, so you have APA rules there to look at if you're confused. You also have that visual guide, which shows you basically what I just went through in real time. There's also the website projectapa.info. This was featured in the go-to session, so I'm going to let this linger for just a few seconds in case you need to take a screenshot or write this down. But projectapa.info, I think this is the most user-friendly version of APA, simply because it's not overwhelming. It covers in-text citations, the references page. It too gives an APA formatting example, but it limits it to the sorts of information that you will most likely use. So this is a site I recommend strongly. Remember too that your McGraw-Hill readings, the assigned readings, cover APA. So APA can be found in lots of places, and this is where I'll actually point you for in-text citations, because it answers everything you could, like, how do you deal with a direct quote? How do you deal with if you're not quoting directly, but you're just paraphrasing a summary, summarizing? What if what you're quoting or paraphrasing is written by more than one person? What if we don't know who wrote it? Okay, what if it has no date? Okay, that answers all of your questions. You just need to go in there and follow the example. Okay, so that's projectapa.info. And also your McGraw-Hill readings. Your McGraw-Hill readings also cover things like how to incorporate quotations naturally, how to make sure that researched information fits naturally within your own paragraphs. Again, this is more difficult to show in real time, so I'm not trying to ignore this aspect, but I think it's best that you either go to projectapa.info or just refresh your memory with those McGraw-Hill readings. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully, this walkthrough helps things make appear a bit easier, but if you continue to have questions, be sure to let me know, and good luck with your papers.